Hi, this is Nalin Sharma, and this is the One Page Game Design Canvas, which is a visual thinking tool that can help you design better games and use games ideas and techniques in non-game scenarios like business and learning applications to increase user motivation and engagement. The canvas contains 10 boxes, all on a single page, that describe various aspects of your game. We'll run through the boxes now, starting with the ideas box. This is to do with practical considerations about what the player sees, what do I control, what can I hear, and what can I create. And I'm using the first person here because it helps to think about the game from a user-centered design perspective, seeing it from their perspective, not your own as a designer. So what is it that they're going to experience? In terms of the idea, we're thinking about what do people see. So is it a 2D camera or a 3D camera? If it's a 3D camera, is it a first-person view or a third-person view? What do I control? Is it an avatar, a mouse, a car, or possibly a plane even? What can I hear? Is it music, sounds, dialogue? How does that create a mood for me? Also, what can I create, if anything? Is it an avatar, a vehicle, environments, or maybe even levels? Let's move on to the start box. How do I begin playing? And you'll notice that the very successful games make it very easy to start playing straight away. They'll lead you in through a tutorial, and before you know it, you're actually playing the game. However, before you get to that point, you need to think about why would somebody download your game? What's the emotional trigger that you can provide through marketing components like screenshots, videos, word of mouth, or any other descriptions? The next box is the objectives. It's really thinking about why should I play at all? And here you need to think in seconds, because again, the successful games make it very, very easy. It's very intuitive to start playing. You think about a visual image like Pac-Man, it's very obvious that you need to start clearing those dots. And we as designers can take advantage of a design language where people are familiar with thousands of games without even knowing it, and we can leverage that existing knowledge to make those objectives simple and more intuitive. The idea, start, and objectives boxes all help to attract a player into your game. They come in with a sense of anticipation. And now we're going to talk about this central box, which is one of the most important on this canvas. Some people call it the core gameplay loop. I've highlighted it as a repeatable, scalable mechanic because it more accurately describes what happens. It's repeatable because it happens many, many times a second. It's scalable because ultimately it should grow as the player becomes more experienced and wants a richer variety of things happening within the game. And it's a mechanic because games are about doing. So it's really answering that question, what do I do in the game? This mechanic is made up of 4 quadrants: anticipation, uncertainty, action, and effect. Players come into this with a sense of anticipation anyway, and it's really about tapping into that frontal lobe of the player's brain to help them imagine things that do not exist in the real. That aspect is used very successfully in advertising to create a sense of anticipation. And here in a game, it's about delivering that flow of new features in your game to the player such they can anticipate more and more. That builds up a context for them. And that context is crucial in the next part of the quadrant, which is uncertainty. Games are fundamentally about resolving uncertainty. It's resolving the outcome. And at a micro level, it's them thinking about, can I do this? Will I succeed? Should I go down this route or should I go down that route? Games are all about uncertainty because once that uncertainty is gone, the game no longer becomes interesting. That uncertainty creates a mental map of possibilities for what the player can do, what they can experience. And that drives them to a sense of action. Should they move left? Should they move right? Should they jump? Or maybe even fire? That action helps to resolve the uncertainty. Once you've done that action, you get some kind of reinforcement, some effect that your work has been worthwhile, a wow effect, or an oh no, I've died, or the player's moved on, or whatever. And that means that we as designers can start thinking about the stimulation aspect, how to then keep them playing, how to keep them motivated and engaged. Now we'll move on to the goals box. So once players have played initially and they've got an understanding of what to do, why should they return? And here we need to think in minutes, because some people may play the game and never ever come back. This box is all to do with providing some kind of motivation. Why should they achieve something? How can you make it feel good? How can you make it desirable? How can you make them lead into discovering more and more content? How can you make them feel good? It's about providing an experience. Moving on from the goals box, why should I become a master? And here we need to think in hours, days and weeks. Often it's about a metagame. It's some kind of overall or overarching purpose to the game. Are you rescuing a princess, or are you trying to achieve some lofty goal? Maybe you're just trying to get a high score as possible. Often it's about providing something that needs a lot of dedication. Not everybody can achieve that as you move from left to right. Players may drop out along the way, so maybe players need to feel special here. Is the goal achievable? Quite often you have endless running type of games, or games where you have hundreds of levels that actually aren't really achievable, but it still provides an aspirational goal for players to keep playing. These three boxes at the top have three counterpart boxes at the bottom. They help to clarify their focus. So you've got failure, objectives, failure, improvement and longevity. So the failure helps to clarify the objectives at the top. What can go wrong? How can it be fun? How can you make winning and losing both fun? Games are fundamentally a learning journey from failure through to success. And one of the most powerful things about games is that there's no stigma attached to failure. And that means that it can be much more easy to incentivize players to try again, and to retry immediately, to overcome that feeling of not quite making it. That provides an opportunity for how can players improve, how can they get better, how can they address their deficiencies. Is it through a better strategy, through better control, or maybe improving their skill? It could be by using boosters somehow to improve their speed or some other characteristic within the game. And quite often it's done through virtual currency in many free-to-play models. Moving on, as players become more experienced, they want something that enriches that experience. How can it be aspirational? What can players aspire to do? And the reason they need this is to help avoid player fatigue. Quite often they want a variation, which is basically the same game, but slightly different. How can it be aspirational to add to that mission at the top? How can it be made more appealing? So you'll see these counterpart boxes, objectives and failure, they go hand in hand as players progress from the left-hand side through to the right-hand side, through the goals, improvement, and hopefully through to mission and longevity. But there's inevitably player churn as you move from left to right. Not everybody will want to get to the right-hand side, but that is part of the attraction of games anyway. They have to be aspirational. Let's move on to the next box, which is the last one, and that's the emotion box. What do players feel? Games, after all, are about delivering that emotion. The whole point of these 9 boxes on the left-hand side are to deliver strong emotions: fun, frustration, exhilaration, or perhaps even nostalgia and excitement. Players need to feel that emotion to then feel good about themselves and about playing the game. If they don't feel anything, they won't bother playing the game at all. If they feel a lot of emotion, then there's a chance of them sharing it with their friends. So this one-page game design canvas, although you don't need this sea of sociability, it really helps if players can feel emotional enough about their experience. They want to sort of share their progress, maybe share their videos or gift items to their friends. Maybe they want to share their achievements or exclusive content or creations even. At a simplistic level, it's about sharing and beating scores, but at a more deeper level, it's about collaborating and maybe even competing with each other. That concludes the one-page game design canvas. My name is Nalin Sharma, and you can find out more about the one-page game design canvas at onepged.com.